This documentary is about my experience at the City College of New York Encampment, which started on April 25th, 2024. It's just one of many protests on college campuses around the United States.
I was really excited when the students started getting involved. I feel like the tradition of student protesting has really, like I went to undergrad during the Bush era, and I remember being so disappointed that the other students did not seem to give a shit, right? Like, it felt like the tradition of, like, young people protesting against, and, like, mobilizing in that way was dead. And then so to start to see it, and especially for this issue, I think is really, honestly, surprising. But, gratifying is not the right word, but it gives me like a little hope.
I am lead on with another undergraduate student of CCNY that's not here right now. We miss her so much. But we are leads on the negotiations committee because we want to show administration that students are here to lead, that undergraduate students are here to lead, and show them that we're not scared and we're not intimidated by their tactics and their manipulation and their gaslighting. We are here to stand our ground, demand divestment, and we're here to free Palestine.
3 days after this encampment started, the president of City College, Vincent Boudreau, released a statement on the school's website. He acknowledged to the college's community that he was aware of the encampment. The demonstrators called themselves the CUNY Gaza Solidarity Encampment. President Boudreau made it clear that the encampment was welcome, but he faced the challenge of balancing free speech and security for all members of the City College community, including participants not affiliated with the college or CUNY at large, and Harlem residents.
My name is Dr. Arthur Whaley. I'm a clinical psychologist and psychiatric epidemiologist. I have a PhD in clinical psychology and a Doctor of Public Health and Epidemiology. I'm nearing retirement. I have over 35 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration in higher education.
Have you even written or wrote or thought about, the idea of protest, and is that a topic in your field of study at all?
No, it's not a topic of field of study, but I have some personal experiences. When I was in college, as an undergraduate, I protested for my university to divest from South Africa. And in fact, we took over the administration building, and I believe that was in 1988, to protest our school's investment in South Africa. And I like to think that those protests are, those were part of a larger number of protests going on around the country at the time, because a lot of students across the country, it wasn't as intense and as forceful as the current protests, but I believe that, that the protests added to a general movement against companies doing business in South Africa, including universities. And eventually, the pressure did result in South Africa abolishing the system of apartheid. So I think protests can be effective as long as they are, part of a larger movement to change policy and political procedures.
This is an outside agitator. We would never do such a thing.
We want to put an end to colonialism. We want to put an end to capitalism. We want to put an end to oppression and injustice everywhere in the world. Forces together and make sure we are united to support these students that are leading the way. I have no problem, as someone who has committed my life into the struggle, to be led by these brave students. I have no pride in allowing them to lead, because truly they have shown us that they have what it takes to sacrifice it all, but with shrewdness. We have done our part in educating We have done our part in helping navigate these issues for the past few decades, but it's their time to lead, and clearly they do it well. Imagine, and this is the famous story of Golda Meir, one of the fierce Zionist leaders of Israel, when she said, when she was tackling the issue of the natives and the indigenous people of Palestine, how they were going to deal with them. She said that the old will die and the young will forget. They thought the young will be busy with Instagram and TikToks and wasting their time. But guess what? Over 100 years after, not only that the young did not forget, the youngs are leading the revolution.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
I am here because I support the students in their strike opposing the genocide in Gaza. I have been a pro-Palestinian advocate since 1982. And it's a long time that we are in the struggle. And hopefully this time we will make a difference, because the protests are at every university, mostly at every university. And hopefully, I don't know where Congress or those who are in Congress will be moved by their constituents and not by their Israeli
All right, stay calm. Pardon me? Camera's on! Big bad
You saw what just happened. Everybody's on edge, right? So we gotta make a commitment. If something like that happens again, we separate, we settle down, we figure out what happened.
We protect each other. If any cops, anybody trading on with violence, we protect each other. We are one family here protesting.
But the best way to protect,
they come in, we will protect each other.
But the best way to protect each other is to understand that the best way for this to happen is for it to be peaceful.
We have been peaceful.
No,
listen,
I'm not saying that you weren't peaceful. What I'm saying is we don't know what spark just set that off, right? And so when it happened, we de-escalated. We got the public safety out of here. I really appreciated the protesters went back. Now let's sort it out and let's try to make sure that doesn't happen again. Because as I said, my public safety officers have been told not to initiate physical contact with protesters. All right, so let's sort it out. And right now we're kind of back to where we were before. Let me figure out what happened with my people. All right, you're a student government leader. All right, try to make sure everybody's taking care of each other and cooler heads prevail. All right,
we got it.
All right, I appreciate it.
Just make sure no NYPD present here.
NYPD will only come in if there's violence against our public safety officers.
And how are we to trust that when they didn't abide by that rule before?
Well, we don't know what just happened, right? We're going to figure that out.
So how are you ever going to know?
And NYPD didn't come in. That was all public safety.
Okay, so why did they go in?
We don't know that.
But public safety is your jurisdiction.
I don't know what happened down there when I was on the phone. right? And we're going to figure it out. I'm not in a position to speculate what happened. So let's just, do you know what happened?
I mean, if you're saying you're standing here,
I was on the phone negotiating with the chancellor so that after the tents come down, you're not all arrested for trespassing, right? So I can tell you that right now. What I said earlier, that okay. Let me go figure out what happened with my people.
Is there any way the chancellor will talk to our negotiation team instead of just having to?
The chancellor has made a commitment for the first time. You sent a letter to him earlier today, and people didn't sign it. So now it's being signed. They have committed that the university will negotiate with a select group of people. You name the 4 or 5 people to negotiate with the university, and they'll negotiate. Okay.
Is he willing to respond to that if he can?
The university will respond. Yes, he is.
University or the chancellor?
They've said the university. He's part of the university, but I'm not in a position to commit my boss to negotiate. All right. But there will be a negotiation. All right, with authority. Okay.
Thank you.
Troopers basically did that to us, but that's not gonna stop us. That will not stop us. I came out here to stand with y'all. I love y'all guys. Thank you for everything that you're doing for my country.
Any questions? Yeah.
How can we find a way to bring like workers and community members in here? And like I think that's something we should be focusing on, since this isn't only about Gaza, it's about also Harlem and the oppressed people there. So we need to bring them in here, we need to get them involved in this, and we need to get them supporting this. So if anyone has ideas on how to do that, we should start discussing that.
Yeah. Is that a question for everyone? For everyone!
It's a really good question.
I have a proposal.
We'll take answers from the community actually. Go ahead.
There definitely seems to be stratification among minorities, and I did see relations go much smoother in representation between the parties who are culturally and religiously and perhaps ethnically related to Palestinians. I think that group very much in arms, embracing sort of white Americans. And as a Black American, there seems to be sort of like this second tier of alliance, which was like for them questionable. Does that speak to any kind of work you've done or experience you have?
Yeah, I mean that's a typical response. I think that what you're experiencing are what that's about. Well, first thing I want to say is that, which I've learned over many years of both research and personal experience, is that just because somebody is against oppression of a foreign group doesn't mean that they themselves can't harbor prejudice against other groups. And I think, I mean, the UN Secretary General made a statement that actually was the greatest insult to the state of Israel. He basically said they were acting like Nazis. And I think it was the Secretary General, I don't want to misquote, I think it was him or somebody from the UN, I can't remember who exactly said it, but I believe it was Secretary General of the UN who made this statement. But that point being that, the Holocaust was one of the most horrendous events in the recent history. However, the people who actually were subjected to it themselves are beginning to emulate that behavior against another oppressed group. So one of the things that psychology has taught us, or what I've seen, my understanding of psychology of racism, is that just because you experience prejudice or that you're against prejudice in one group doesn't necessarily mean that you're prejudiced against all groups. I think Martin Luther King was one of the most unique people, and to some degree African Americans in that way are unique. In that there is a fundamental belief among many African Americans, and the point that Martin Luther King used to make, that a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, which basically means that anybody who experiences prejudice should be supported. no matter whether they're your own group or another group. That's the moral imperative. However, other groups don't necessarily share that.
And to your point, in terms of how do we get the community organized, please, you can exchange numbers, you can work with one of the organizations I work with, because we have to be about an anti-colonial struggle and building contact with these organizations. You're not by yourself. Uhuru, thank you. Free Palestine. Stand up, baby. Colonizers, go home.
Unfortunately, places like Sudan and the Congo and Haiti and places in Latin America or in Southeast Asia, they don't hold as much media currency as this issue.
So I was at Columbia around 6, and cops had barricaded the entire thing, so we had to run to City College, and it was a very peaceful protest. No one was doing anything. It was actually cops that would start throwing things at us or pushing us to kind of incite chaos, and when that chaos would be incited, that's when they started arresting people violently. Eric Adams purposely put people of color on the front line of the cops. A lot of these officers are South Asian and Arab, have Muslim last names. Some of them have been speaking to me in Arabic, telling me to go home because they're scared for me. So that's definitely not an accident or a mistake. That was done on purpose, to have people of color arresting people of color.
What do you do? Stand up, fight back. Black and browns are under attack. What do you do? Stand up, fight back. What do you do? Stand up, fight back. Stand up, fight back. Stand up, fight back. Stand up, fight back.
That's been our function in society. Is when the police or the criminal justice, or first let me just say, the reason that they utilize Mumia Abu-Jamal is not because he's black, but because he's a celebrity. His celebrity is what they want to use. He's high profile, so they want to use his celebrity. And that's by extension the use of blackness always as to protect or serve their interests. That's the only role that black people have in this country for not only protest. Protest is a microcosm of America in general. These protesters represent America in general. Black people have been used, and they continue to be used. And when they no longer serve the purpose, they're not given any kind of place in the role in any activity. Like with your experience with the protest, you're only as good as you can be used to shield them from the police. That's our role, is protect them from any kind of event, So that's been historic, and it continues to be the case. So I'm not surprised that happened. And I don't think the black people who were involved were aware of it. And that's even more unfortunate, because they don't really understand their history. They don't really understand what's going on with the purpose. While the cause is noble, the actions, the dynamics involved around dealing with the cause recapitulates America as a racist society and a two-tier society.
This was an enlightening experience. In fact, a very complex one to think about. I went to the encampment to document and support a necessary movement, yet putting my skin in this game as a black person reminded me of the insidious forms of white supremacy, such as internalized racism. I was questioned for being there by some, even physically blocked from entering the courtyard, and on another occasion I was asked to stop filming while others fully documented the affairs. It was clear to me that the unspeakable was happening. Yeah, that taboo thing to say or think? Is it because I'm black? It's something that you feel guilty about because you don't want to make everything about race. But I soon realized that I was not succumbing to my own projections after I received a text one morning from someone I met, an African-American gentleman, and he reported the microaggressions and subtle forms of alienations he experienced. This takes me back to W.E.B. Du Bois, who reminded us, who tried to tell us that one of the most pressing issues this world is going to deal with is the color line. And perhaps today, I should say, there are multiple color lines. In no way I am indicting every protester, and nor does my experience diminishes the efforts of millions of protesters around the world who want a ceasefire and a just and peaceful resolution between the state of Israel and the Palestinians. I just know one thing. Everything won't be solved in a day. And we will have to remember that we're in this together, and together we will successfully find justice.